Welcome to the College of Engineering at Virginia Tech information session. We are so sorry that you could not be here with us on campus, but we're so glad we can bring this to you virtually. We're so happy to be able to do this. Today, we're going to have myself, Taylor Cupp, as the moderator. I'm assistant to the director of SEED. SEED is the Center for the Enhancement of Engineering Diversity. Our presenters are going to be Henry Brown, who is a civil engineering major, and Danielle Wright, who's in mechanical engineering. And then we'll also bring in Daniela and Sanjana for our student panel to answer your questions.
Yeah, so getting started with this presentation, we're first going to go into what it takes to be an engineer. So these are a couple of things that us at Virginia Tech are really looking for from you guys. So first off, creativity. So engineering deals with a lot of different problem solving, and bringing a creative mindset to any problem you may face is huge in being an engineer. Second is teamwork. So really being able to work with people from different backgrounds, people with different mindsets, and bring your ideas together to create a solution. Study habits. So engineers applying to Engineering College at Virginia Tech, you guys are very bright students, doing great in high school, I'm sure. And so just keeping those great study habits that you take from high school and ramping them up in college. With college, you're only going to have about 3 50-minute long classes a week. And so there's a lot of time to be put in outside of your actual lecture time to stay up with the course material and really learn the material. Engineering inherently has an interest in math and science. That's really the two main subject areas that engineering focuses in. And then finally, what we're looking for is a challenging high school background. So we're looking that you guys are taking the highest level AP, IB, CLEP, dual enrollment classes that you can. We know a lot of different high schools offer different levels of, say, math, but as long as you're taking, the hardest calculus you can, the hardest physics you can, chemistry, that looks really good application-wise. Also with extracurricular activities, we're looking to make sure that you guys are passionate about just a couple extracurriculars. Not that you're involved in everything that your high school offers, but just so that you're really, showing leadership in different areas, maybe on your sports team, maybe in your band, robotics team, whatever your main interests are.
So here are just some statistics for the breakdown of freshman students who came to Tech this past fall 2019. So the average reported GPA, 4.2 out of 5. So you need to be able to prove that you're doing well in your high level courses, but you also don't need to be a perfect student getting like a 5.0 out of 5.0 or something. Also the average SAT, Virginia Tech does not have a minimum required SAT for math or reading, but those are just the averages that we have. 20.7% females in the class, and that's actually increasing every year. So underrepresented minorities, that's 29% of the freshman class from this past year.
So at Virginia Tech, we do engineering a little bit different than other colleges might do. So your freshman year, every student comes in as a general engineer. So me, for example, I didn't come into Virginia Tech as a mechanical engineering student, and Henry didn't come in as a civil engineering student. Everyone comes in your entire first year as general engineer. So what this means is that you have a common point entry classes with all your fellow engineering freshman students. So you're all taking the same calculus, the same physics, same foundations of engineering courses, really getting that nice baseline knowledge from that transition from high school into college to start learning engineering. At Virginia Tech, we do accept AP, IB, CLEP dual enrollment credit. Virginia Tech makes it very nice. We have this transfer guide. If you just search this up in Google, then it has a very nice spreadsheet all listed out with what AP scores you need to get credit for a very specific class. Our pathways for general education curriculum, this is what you may hear your older siblings in college or people who went into college before just called gen eds. So you're taking classes in the English department, history, really getting a broad view of college, becoming a well-rounded student before you leave Virginia Tech, so that you're not just math and science oriented completely. And so the big thing in this slide is your selection of your major at the end of your freshman year. So at the end of your freshman year, if your cumulative GPA is a 3.0, then this guarantees your first choice major. So if I come in and I want to do mechanical engineering and I have a 3.0 at the end of my freshman year, I am guaranteed to be in mechanical engineering. And so even if every student in the freshman class wanted to join mechanical engineering, then the faculty would, the college would actually hire on more faculty, open up more classes, open up more seats to accommodate all those students who earn the 3.0. Now, I know you might be thinking, okay, maybe the transition is harder for me. What if I don't get that 3.0 GPA? If you're a 2.99 or anything below that 3.0 GPA requirement, you'll list your top 3 engineering majors that you want to join, and you're guaranteed one of your top 3. So you're not going to be booted out of the College of Engineering even if you don't get this 3.0.
So Foundations of Engineering is the intro level class that everyone takes their freshman year. So there's 2 classes, Engineering Education 12-15 and then 12-16 for your fall and your spring semesters respectively. So what Foundations of Engineering does, it brings together all of these freshman students who are looking to go into everything from aerospace to civil engineering, everything in between, and helps develop these baseline engineering skills that you might not have put a lot of focused attention into. So like we talked about earlier, design and teamwork, working in different disciplines, understanding what it's like to use certain 3D modeling software if you haven't used anything like CAD before, graphing, problem solving, and really taking a balanced approach and learning not only what it's like to be an engineer like within a specific discipline, but what it can be big picture to be in engineering. And I thought it was a great way to be able to get to understand other disciplines that I might not be able to go into myself.
This is a breakdown of our undergraduate enrollment from 2019. So that first one at the top, engineering education, those are all the incoming freshmen. The rest of them, these are all of our degree granting majors at Virginia Tech. You cannot get a degree in engineering education. So each of these majors, this is the sophomores through the seniors. So if you take that number on the right-hand side and divide it by 3, you'll get your average graduating class size. So, you know, being a mechanical, if you go down to mechanical, divide that number by 3, you're getting about 400 students in my graduating class of 2020. So that's the breakdown of these numbers.
So now we're going to go through each of the engineering majors that Tech has. We got 14 different majors. So the first one we're going to talk about is electrical engineering. And it's the first of 3 majors that is all kind of electrically focused. Electrical engineering is the most hands-on and it's got a very strong hardware focus. So you can see down there at the bottom, they have a robot with a solar panel on top. They're electrical engineers. You can tell that they are an electrical engineer because they'll be walking around with different circuit boards and different electrical components that they might work on in a lab. I've seen people walk around with those around campus before. Lots of different kinds of jobs, mostly in the hardware sector though. Electrical engineers can kind of work everywhere because electricity is useful for almost anything that we might work on as an engineer. But at the same time, it's mostly very hardware based and there's not so much the hardware-software interaction emphasized.
So next up we have computer science. So computer science is more the software side, looking into modeling different programs using many different computer interfaces. So in the top left-hand corner, you can see a video from theCUBE at Virginia Tech. In it, a computer scientist at Virginia Tech made a simulation of a guy getting hit by a car trying to cross the road. And so there's really a lot of job opportunities with this major, with this kind of technology boom happening where so many things are going virtual and being relied on computers. Another cool opportunity at Virginia Tech that we offer is a possible 5-year master's bachelor's of science track. And so this basically is just an accelerated master's program where in 5 years you can get both your undergraduate degree in CS and your graduate degree.
So computer engineering, if you imagine you have electrical engineering on one side and computer science on the other, computer engineering is like right in the middle. It's a combination of how hardware interacts with software and how you can most efficiently interact between those 2 different components. So one great example of computer engineering that we had is a kind of, you guys have heard about Life Alert, right? So it's like I've fallen, I can't get up, and like you press the button and then you come and get help. Computer engineering, through their techniques, are able to come up with fabrics that integrate pressure sensors, and they can tell if you have a pair of pants made with these special pressure sensing pants, that if you've fallen, they can detect that and are able to call for help immediately. And so different advances like that with computer engineering, not only just paying attention to how like electricity flows in the hardware, but also how it can interact with like a piece of software. And putting those two together is all about what computer engineering is.
So getting out of the electrical computer side, our next major we're going to talk about is biological systems engineering. So this was mainly the fast track before we started offering our biomedical engineering program. A lot of students go into this program wanting to go on to medical school, veterinary school, or dental school. And so with this, you're learning a lot about engineering with biology. So another side of this also ends up being the ecosystem and looking into land and water resource engineering. Cool lab that we offer is the water lab, seen in the top right-hand photo. And so these are actually students out at lab seeing how water drains in a bunch of different settings, whether it's hay, grass, gravel, sand. And so really just a broad subset of different areas you can go in with the BSE program.
Up next is chemical engineering. So chemical engineering is not just chemistry. It's all about how you can take different chemical processes that you learn about in chemistry and apply them to daily life and have them be most useful in, for example, like a power plant or something, or a production facility. Probably the most interesting thing about being a chemical engineer is the opportunity for a summer lab experience. This means that going in before your senior year that summer in Denmark or Germany, you can internationally work in a real-life chemical engineering lab, and that counts as your lab experience. It's a great experience that we have here at Tech. And on top of that, chemical engineering is another one of those majors where there's lots of flexibility because everything uses chemical processes. So you're able to work on everything from like fuels and energy to chemical production, pharmaceuticals, environmental quality, everything like that.
Next up is material science and engineering. And so this is looking at all those different materials that other engineers can integrate into their own projects. So with this, you can specialize with your degree. So you can look into metals, polymers, ceramics, or composites, and other different materials along with electronics or nuclear biomaterials. And so an awesome thing about Virginia Tech is that we're one of the only universities in the nation that has a foundry. So you can see that in the top right-hand photo. So these material science students, they have the opportunity to take labs where they actually are pouring hot molten iron into different casts. I know some of our design teams actually work with the foundry to mold and prep different gears that they design themselves instead of having them being manufactured by someone else. Also know of a club at Virginia Tech, the Swordsmithing Club. So students actually get to completely pour metal on and create basically a medieval type sword and, you know, bang it out, sharpen it up. I think it's a competition. I'm not completely sure about that. Another cool story about the material science and engineering program at Virginia Tech. Down the right-hand photo, you can see Cedric Hume, our old running back at Virginia Tech. And so back in 2004, he actually broke his arm during the season. The NCAA, if you're a football fan, they declared his cast to be too hard, considered it a weapon during the football game. So our football team actually came to the material science and engineering department at Virginia Tech and said, hey guys, like, we need some help finding a good material that will protect him, but, you know, isn't considered a weapon. He can play with it. And so therefore that cast was born, and Cedric Hume ended up playing in the Atlantic Coastal Conference Championship with us, and we ended up winning that game. So material science and engineering students like to say that they help win football championships.
Next up is mining and minerals engineering. So you might see the picture on the bottom right and just think, oh, they just blow stuff up. But I mean, they do, but they also help do everything else revolving around that. So that's when you're creating a mine, you have to find the right site where you might have the greatest mineral concentration for the economic value. You also have to think about how you're going to blow it up, how you can do that safely. And then after that, how you're able to reclaim the land and restore it back to a way that you're able to responsibly manage the environment in the area. I've got a few friends in mining engineering. This is one of the majors that we have here at Tech that has 100% job placement after graduation. People in industry are just dying to have Virginia Tech mining engineers. And it's also one of our smaller majors. So you're able to really have very close, tight-knit relationships with your professors, and you're pretty much going to know every single person at your major.
I'll let you take this one, Henry, since
Oh,
you're the
thank
expert.
you. So civil engineering, as a civil engineer, I might be a little bit biased, but I think it's the best one that we have. Civil engineering is a very broad major. So you can see that you can do everything from construction to geotechnical, water resources. And that's the great thing about civil engineering. You can work in an office and design buildings and how the structures are going to interact with each other in steel beams, or you can be out in the field doing tests, checking like water pH levels if you want to be out in the field, or you can work on a construction site as a construction kind of engineer. We're going to get into that like right after this. But so that's what I really like about civil. I'm currently going into land development, which is all about so that if you take a structure and you go 5 feet away from that structure, all the land around there, the grading, the zoning, the utility management, that's what land development is about. You can see the picture there at the bottom right. Here at Tech, we have the Virginia Tech Transportation Institute. And it's actually a test track, which is about 1.5 miles long, just off campus. And it's actually such a great location where they can create dynamic weather events. So they can have artificial snow or rain. And I think they can also heat the roadway. It's such a desirable testing environment that companies like Google, you can see, brought out their self-driving vehicle prototype and were able to test it on our test track.
So Henry did mention the construction engineering and management program. This ties really closely to civil, and this major actually came from industry need. So industry sponsors at Virginia Tech came to VT and they were like, hey, we really love your civil department here, and we really love your Pamplin College of Business. Is there a way we can get students who get that business savvy side along with the technical background that civil engineers have? Thus, the construction engineering management program is born. And so it's just like what it sounds. You really get that technical background looking at building construction, civil engineering, the environmental side of it, along with those management skills that you can get from the Pamplin College of Business here at Virginia Tech. This is another major with 100% job placement at Virginia Tech. There's a big demand for them in any kind of construction site that you see. And you can always tell who these students are during Virginia Tech graduations, because they're the ones wearing orange hard hats instead of your traditional cap and gown.
Next up is aerospace and ocean engineering. So I'll start off with the video that we have in the bottom left. So I believe that's Jim Cantori. He is a weatherman in the area. And so he came to Virginia Tech, and we have the largest collegiate wind tunnel in the country that we actually got from NASA. And here he is checking out the tunnel in 2009 initially. He has lots of hair, you can tell. And then he comes back later when they able to grow up a little bit more power, a little bit less hair, and you can see his skin flap a little bit. Category 4 hurricane power winds, over 100 miles an hour. Wind tunnel is on campus. It's this gigantic steel structure. I didn't really know what it was at first, but seeing this video, I think it's really cool, and it shows the kind of resources that you have in aerospace and ocean engineering. And the two, I'll backtrack a little bit. The two majors are grouped together because if you think about it, air and water flow over a surface are kind of similar in some ways. But I think aerospace and ocean engineering is a great program here because there is a silly amount of lab space all over campus. I've seen different kinds of labs in almost every single building for aerospace and ocean engineering, lots of different design teams. And you can also do a double major with aerospace and ocean engineering, if that's what you're interested in, or if you just can't pick one.
Yeah, and if I could just add on about the wind tunnel, you guys watching might think like, okay, sure, a wind tunnel, that's probably for like the PhD professors, PhD students, master students. So me as a junior in mechanical engineering, one of my labs was actually in the wind tunnel. We had essentially a torpedo shape sitting right in the middle of the wind tunnel. We got to go inside of it, check it out. And then my lab revolved around analyzing the flow patterns around this torpedo shape. So even juniors in undergrad get this opportunity to really have this hands-on learning experience within the wind tunnel itself. And going on into the best major in engineering, biased opinion, of course, mechanical engineering. So I really like to describe this major, my major, as kind of a jack of all trades of engineering. So you see that there are many topic areas, and honestly, you could probably fill about 3 more slides with the topic areas that we have offered in mechanical engineering. So with this program, you really get to get a wide view of engineering. I took classes so far in electrical engineering, aerospace engineering, material science, industrial and systems engineering. We'll go into that later. And so you really get to find your own passion within engineering while getting a broad view of these other engineerings as well. So it's not just about cars, even though you definitely can go into more the automotive side. Just like you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, that's our Formula SAE team, completely designed formula car and built by undergraduate students. So at the end of your senior year, or going into your senior year in mechanical engineering, your entire training basically culminates into a year-long senior design project. So the top right-hand corner, that's actually one of our old senior design projects. Students were able to design a coupling, or basically a fitting of fire hoses. They designed it, did different calculations on it, did 3D modeling of it, and actually in the spring semester of your mechanical engineering degree, you get to build and actually test your designs that you made. You're getting $5,000 or more if you're on a design team, and you actually get to build a prototype of your device. And so I believe these students, you know, you can see firefighters working with their device. I think these students got their design patented because it was just so innovative. And so it's just a really cool hands-on experience that you can get kind of finishing out your program and leading you on into the real world.
Up next is Biomedical Engineering, and this is actually the most recent addition that we have here at Tech. I think this coming year, they're going to be taking their second class of rising sophomores in the program. And because of that, there's a little bit of a caveat. So it's not just everyone who has a 3.0 gets to get into the major. There's a set number of people. So they took, I believe it was 40 people the fall of 2019. And then they are taking, I think, 60 people this next year. And they're still going to ramp that up the next couple of years. But eventually it's going to be open for all students who have at least a 3.0. And biomedical engineering is very similar to biological systems that Danielle mentioned earlier, in that you take your understandings of like biology and chemistry and you apply them to the medical field. So everything from biomedical imaging to biomaterials, neuroengineering, and a whole bunch of areas that I don't completely understand, if I'm going to be honest. But I think it's one of the coolest majors that we have, I think. And it might be a new program, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't have the kind of established footprint that others might have. Because for a number of years, we've actually had the biomedical engineering minor available. And so because there's such a demand to have a whole major for biomedical engineering, that's why they created this major from that minor.
Engineering, science, and mechanics. First, we're going to show you a video of flying snakes. Yeah, I said flying snakes. So basically what engineering, science, and mechanics engineers do is they really try to develop equations and try to explain the motion of things you might not typically think about. So one example is being a flying snake. So a professor at Virginia Tech has these animals on campus, locked in a cage, and basically is trying to study their motion, how they flatten their bodies and twist to essentially fly through the air. And then by taking and understanding this motion, developing equations and theories for it, then you can then go on to apply it to other areas, maybe in defense industry or wherever you can think about. Another really unique place at Virginia Tech is our helmet lab. You can see in the top right-hand corner. So Virginia Tech really is always at the forefront of helmet technology. And we actually developed the 5-star helmet rating system, basically testing to see how helmets are performing safety-wise. So they do a bunch of different tests on the helmets. They ram them into different objects, have them fall from different heights, trying to simulate, if you're talking about football, on-field impacts to really see if these helmets do protect the brain from concussion, do protect the player from injury. So this is a very theoretical degree. It typically does lead on into going more into a master's, maybe a PhD, going into a research-focused field.
So up next is Industrial and Systems Engineering, or ISE for short. So ISE, in a word, basically, is human engineering and how you can engineer optimization. So this is everything that you can imagine, from the most simple example, like you have a manufacturing assembly line, to you have an office space and you want to think about where you'd want to put different people or different departments in the office that interact with each other the most, so that they're able to best utilize their work environment. And so that's the thing about ISE. Almost every company will hire someone in industrial and systems engineering. So like you can see at the bottom, it says job types include healthcare, product design and evaluation, cost analysis. There are also a lot of economic-based influences in ISE. I'm actually taking a class right now in the industrial and systems engineering department, and it's all about engineering economy or engineering economics, and how making one investment now might be like, and how that could be evaluated for future profits.
So we just went through all of the engineering majors that we currently offer at Virginia Tech. For more information, just search into Google, Explore Engineering Virginia Tech. This is a really handy tool just to learn about engineering in general. So basically it'll take you to a page, it'll reiterate all the information we just said about each major, and it'll actually show you different interest areas you may have if you're looking at that major. It'll show you different design teams or organizations you can get involved with on campus for all of our different majors, and different minors that could pair well with each of our engineering majors. So it's a great resource, great tool to look at, and highly recommend going and checking it out.
So we got through all of the majors finally. Thanks for sticking with us. But there is so much more to tech engineering than just sitting in the classroom and studying and doing your homework. That's not what everybody just does every day, though it is important. There are so many more opportunities outside of just engineering majors. So like we said earlier, minors are also very important. So if you want to, let's say, learn more about computer science, but you don't want to dedicate your entire major to it, I know one very popular pairing is mechanical engineering with computer science, especially if you wanted to go into something like robotics. You can see the whole list there. Green engineering, very popular in biological systems and civil engineering, microelectronics for electrical engineers if they're interested in that, and a whole bunch more. Another great opportunity that I think Virginia Tech does an outstanding job of is study abroad. So one program that I was actually a part of is called RSAP, which stands for the Rising Sophomore Abroad Program. And that is a program where during your freshman year in the spring, you take a class that's all about international engineering and how engineers can apply their skills, and how like the kind of etiquette and how they should conduct themselves when working international projects, which was very eye-opening for me because there were a lot of things I just didn't consider going into that class. And then following that class, that summer, you take a 2-week trip somewhere to one of the many destinations that we have around the world. And during that 2-week trip, you visit professional engineering companies, see cultural sites, you get to learn about the culture, and you also get to visit schools. So personally, I actually visited China this past summer, which was a great experience. I got to see so many cool universities and different engineering companies and software companies. We went to a steel manufacturing plant. It was probably the coolest trip I've ever gone on anywhere, and just being able to see all those different things. And we also did things like we saw the Great Wall, Forbidden City. I thought RSAP was great. But the thing is that RSAP is only one of the studying abroad programs that we have. And there are countless study abroad programs across every single major. So if you want to study abroad, it's very easy to pick a program that fits for you. Undergraduate research is also another opportunity. So undergraduate research means that for either credit, sometimes for pay, or sometimes just on a volunteer basis, you work in a lab on campus with a professor or maybe a graduate student. And this can be a great opportunity in a lot of majors to get that hands-on experience, especially if you're in something like chemical engineering or biological systems. You can work in a realistic lab environment, working on real projects. And sometimes that even means that you can get your name on the paper that they were working on in that lab if you put a significant amount of time in. And then there's also engineering professional societies and organizations. Most engineering majors have a professional society. So I know for civil, there's ASCE, which is the American Society of Civil Engineers. It's an equivalent for industrial systems engineers, mechanical engineers, and I think most other programs. We also have engineering Greek life, so that's engineering sororities and fraternities. I'm in an engineering fraternity, and it's been a great opportunity to not only network professionally, but also just learn from people who are in my major or other and other engineering majors. And it's helped me be a better student, and just made everything at Tech a lot easier for me.
Those were just the engineering minors that we listed. That's definitely not limited for students. You can get minors outside of the College of Engineering. I personally have a minor in philosophy, politics, and economics. You can even get majors outside the College of Engineering. So one of the members on the dean's team, of students who give these presentations, she's actually getting a double major in theater. So really just kind of learning whatever you want and what you're interested in. Virginia Tech allows you that opportunity. So going into internship and co-op experiences at Virginia Tech, if you're not familiar with the two terms, an internship we like to describe as a summer experience. So happening between your fall and spring semester, or sorry, spring and fall semester over the summer. So you'll work full time for a company, get paid, work about 40 hours a week at one of their various locations. Co-op experience, on the other hand, that's during a school semester. So whether you take it during the fall or the spring, you're actually taking off school. So you'll just pay, I think it's about $75 to Virginia Tech to stay enrolled as a student. And then you can go work full time for a company. So I took a co-op experience my sophomore year, spring of my sophomore year. So I came to Virginia Tech, took classes as normal in the fall, worked full time my entire spring semester. And then in the fall, I was able to just pick right back up with the same coursework. So the map we're showing you right now, as I mentioned before, me and Henry, we're part of the dean's team. So these are just about 40 students in the College of Engineering who give these presentations. And so these are a couple of places that we ourselves have worked at, the companies we've worked for around the United States. We like to say if we included every single student in the College of Engineering, then you wouldn't even be able to see the map of the United States below all the numbers and where we've worked at. So Virginia Tech has a lot of great relationships with many different universities, with many different companies who want to come to Virginia Tech to hire students to come on for summer experiences or for co-op experiences. And it's a very common thing to take part of during your time at Virginia Tech.
So like I said earlier, there's so much more than just your classes. And these are just 4 examples, which are a lot to say about each one of them. So let's start with career fairs. So career fairs at Tech are large, and there are many of them. It is not hard to find a career fair at Tech. The biggest one that we have is called the Engineering Expo. This is a career fair that we have every fall, so it's like about September time. And there are, I think this past year, there were about 350 companies, maybe 400 companies that came. Huge names like Lockheed Martin, Google, Microsoft come to these career fairs. Every single kind of company in between, companies that are local to Southwest Virginia or just Virginia, and companies that are international, all come to the different career fairs, especially Expo. We also have career fairs for specific majors. So I know computer science, civil engineering, and a few others have career specific or major specific career fairs. So you'll be able to find more companies within your own major. So it's very easy to find a career fair, especially after your freshman year. Companies are eager to hire Virginia Tech engineering students for co-ops and internships. Seed Peer Mentoring is a program where a College of Engineering student who is a sophomore, junior, or senior is paired up with a group of engineering freshmen. And I was actually a part of the Seed Peer Mentoring program. And it's a 10-week program over the fall semester. And you have weekly meetings where you meet with your peer mentoring group, and you're able to ask your mentor questions, just like something like, where should I study on campus? Or should I take this class? Or how does course request work? Or just different things, or something just as simple as, where should I get lunch today? Do you know any good spots on campus? And I thought it was a great program to be part of, because not only do you get advice when it comes to like what classes can I take, but it's also just someone who's been in engineering an extra year than you. And some of those skills that you don't really realize that you need to develop, or you haven't developed yet, someone who's just 1 year ahead of you is able to offer a lot of knowledge. And my peer mentor, her name is Paige. Paige was so helpful and always wanted to help out everyone in the group as much as she could. And I think I was kind of a step ahead of where I would be as a freshman as opposed to if I wasn't in the peer mentoring program. Now, next up is STEP. STEP is an optional program, also optional like peer mentoring, but it is a program that occurs the summer before your freshman year. And you base, I think it's about 6 weeks that you're on campus in Blacksburg, and you get to take some of the classes you take as a freshman. You get to live in a dorm, get to eat on campus, and just you can see it's a pretty decently large group. So you get to kind of have that freshman experience before you really start freshman year. And the purpose of STEP is for people who might be nervous about living on their own for the first time, or might be concerned about the class load, or just want to have a little bit of practice for college before they actually start classes, that this is the program for you. And the great thing about STEP is that you get those classes you get to take the first time around, and all your grades are wiped at the end of the STEP program, so they're not factored in to your fall semester. They might say, what, I put all this effort into these classes and I got these grades and they might be good and they just get wiped. Well, that's the thing about STEP, is that for the people who go in and they might not do so well, they might not see that first chemistry exam come in, they're out just hanging out with their friends the night before, and the next day they're kind of upset because their chemistry exam didn't go exactly how they wanted it to. Instead of getting punished for that because they haven't experienced that before, they're able to use that as a learning experience. And so they can kind of set a baseline of, okay, maybe I didn't put as much effort into studying, or maybe I didn't study the right way, or maybe this is just a college skill that I need to practice more. And you're able to take that lesson without getting punished for it and go into your freshman year a lot more prepared and ready to take basically the same classes again, with a lot more preparation and a lot more knowledge up front. And then finally, there is Hypatia and Galileo, which is what we call a living learning community on campus. So a living learning community is a community within a residence hall on campus that has special programs within it to emphasize one aspect. So there's we have a creativity living learning community, but then Hypatia and Galileo, which we just call Galipatia, is an engineering living learning community. So this is in Lee Hall, so it's about 600 freshmen in one residence hall. And within Galipatia, everyone is given a seed peer mentor, and you have a special Galipatia class that you take to be able to learn more about engineering, professional development opportunities, and workshops. And one of the great tools that you can see in that picture there actually is what is it? It's not the Frith Lab, it's the Invents Lab, which is a freshman-only engineering lab, which is exclusively available for Galipatia students. And you're able to work with 3D printers, laser cutters, and all sorts of other tools, and just regular woodworking tools. They're able to not only learn about engineering, hands-on, but being a part of Galipatia means that you're living with a bunch of engineers. So let's say you're working on some homework or you're studying for an exam and you say, hey, I don't really understand this problem. You can just ask someone across the hall from you, because they're probably taking that exact same class and probably have that same exam tomorrow. So I have a lot of friends who are in Galipatia, and they said it was a great experience because they're able to be more prepared during their freshman year in engineering.
So hands-on, minds-on. If you guys couldn't have already guessed from our description of all the majors, Virginia Tech is a very hands-on learning experience. So in all your classes, you're getting to take a lot of labs, you're getting to do design projects, and then you have the opportunity to join clubs and extracurriculars where you can keep learning these engineering skills and keep getting this hands-on experience in engineering. So these are a couple of our design teams located in our WARE lab, W-A-R-E, if you search it up. And so these are many of our different competition teams that go out across the United States and compete against other universities within their respective competition. So a couple ones I want to highlight. In the top left-hand corner, like I said before, that's the Formula SAE team, making a formula car and racing it against other students. The middle one, the giant doom buggy looking one, is our Baja SAE team. I was actually on that team freshman year. And that's an awesome thing about Virginia Tech design teams as well, is that these teams are for undergraduate students, and they're for students as early as that first week you step on campus freshman year. They really want to get you on their team early. They want to get you really interested in their design, interested in their team, and interested in learning. That way, once you're a junior, once you're a senior, then you can take that knowledge that you learned in class different calculations you may have learned, different 3D modeling skills you may have learned, and apply those knowledge and those skills to the parts of the team that you've been learning since freshman year. Down in the bottom left-hand corner, we have concrete canoe. So that's an entire canoe, more of a civil engineering team, I believe. Basically builds a canoe entirely out of concrete. It does float, and then they sit inside and compete against other universities. For all you car fans, I believe that's a Chevy Bolt. I'm not too keen on cars, but the HEVT team gets this brand new Chevy car off the line, and the first thing they do is rip out the engine. And then their whole design team is trying to make this car entirely electric powered. So this is another senior design team that you can join as early as your freshman year, really get hands-on, and then become a leader on the team come your senior year. One last one I want to point out is down below in the right-hand corner. This is the Hyperloop team at Virginia Tech. So Elon Musk's challenge of basically creating a new method of transportation by vacuum. Everyone sits in pods essentially and is vacuum pulled to different destinations. And so our Hyperloop team gets to design this entire pod, and then they get to go out to competition in California. Quick shout out to my roommate. She actually is on the Hyperloop team, was the president of the Hyperloop team, and she actually gets to go to competition, see Elon Musk, and gets to compete against international teams, even like teams in Germany doing this same competition. So a really great hands-on experience where you get to see engineers from all over showcase their own designs.
So up next is rankings. So rankings aren't everything when it comes to making your college decision, and it's certainly not the only thing that we have here at Tech. I think some of the numbers fall in our favor. So you can see we're ranked number 13 overall in the best undergraduate program among accredited engineering schools nationwide, which I think out of how many hundreds of schools around the country, I think that's pretty good. Number 31 among best graduate programs. We're also ranked number 7 among the producer of engineers, and number 8 among producer of women engineers, according to the American Society of Engineering Education. So like I said, not the only thing that matters, but I think it works out pretty well for us.
So outcomes, so this is a relevant slide for me, being a graduating senior. Freshmen who continue on to a second year in engineering, so this is our retention rate. And so this number has always been very important to me and really shows me how great Virginia Tech is about support. So in the last 5 years, we've averaged 90% of students who go from their freshman year in engineering on to their sophomore year. And so this really shows that Virginia Tech's not a weed out program. We're not trying to bring you in and then, make you fail engineering. We really want to build you up and build up our students to become the best engineers they can in undergrad, and then go on out into the real world and, make changes. After graduation, these are numbers from our class of 2018. So these numbers are always a little bit off because the survey comes out to seniors a couple months after we graduated, so not all of us end up replying to our emails. So of those who responded, 67% were employed, 13% plan to go on to graduate school, and with the median starting salary of $65,000.
Scholarships. So scholarships are important, especially for people who might have financial difficulties with attending Tech. So for freshmen, there are opportunities for scholarships. So you have Davenport Leadership Scholarship and the Pratt Engineering Scholarship. You also have financial aid. So you guys have probably heard about the FAFSA a million times already, but the FAFSA really is the number one way to get financial aid. If you don't do the FAFSA, you really can't hope to get much financial aid for need-based scholarships. You also have the Leo Pattis Scholarship for Virginia Community College transfer students. And then you also have, for upperclassmen, there are a lot of scholarship opportunities that come from College of Engineering, specifically departmental scholarships. And the great thing is that Virginia Tech scholarship application is pretty much contained within just one application. It doesn't take very long to fill out. You don't have to make a million different essays. I've completed it twice at this point, I think, and it really does not take that long. And one important thing to note is that if you don't get a scholarship your freshman year, that doesn't mean you won't ever get a scholarship again. So I came in my freshman year without any scholarships, worked my butt off, got a nice GPA by the end of it all. And going into the civil engineering department, I actually got a scholarship from that department, but not from the College of Engineering as a whole. So I think it goes to show that your scholarship situation can change going into your second or third year here, especially once you get into your department, because then they're a lot more eager to give money to someone who is like within that major.
In these presentations, we always like to make a quick note about computer guidelines. So being an engineer, you are required to bring your own laptop with you to college. The main point is wait until the end of March of the year you're about to come in to Virginia Tech. This is when the new specs come out for the laptop, so it'll show you what your entering engineering class is going to need, what different programs you might be running throughout your time at Virginia Tech, so kind of what processing power you need with whatever laptop you buy. So just wait till the end of March. Don't go buying laptops for Christmas presents before you come to college. Just hold off until those specs come out.
All right, so now what we're going to do is this section is called Why Did I Come to the College of Engineering at Virginia Tech? And basically we're going to tell our personal story about why we came here, and not instead of just everything that we have on these slides and what we've said so far. So I can go first. So personally, I came to Tech for College of Engineering for a lot of statistical reasons. I put together a spreadsheet that was way too big. I was looking at way too many options. Basically coast to coast. And I think I had like 60 or 70 schools I was looking at one point. I was like, this is too much. I got to narrow it down. So I slimmed it down and I applied to about, I think, 5 different schools. Got into Tech. It's great. I'm glad about that. And I figured, well, it's in-state. It's a great value. It's a great program. Campus looks pretty. I'll come here. The food's great also. That's a nice perk. But I think the reason that I've stayed here at Tech isn't just for the good engineering, isn't just for the big football games. It isn't just because the food is delicious every single day, no matter where I go, but it's because the people here who have really become family for me. So like I mentioned earlier, I'm in an engineering fraternity. Those people have become the closest friends that I've ever made. All the people in these different clubs, like on the dean's team, and just people who I sit with in class and people who I see around campus every day. Even though it is a big school and we have over 30,000 students, it becomes a tight-knit community, especially within your major in just in engineering. And I think the reason I've stayed here at Tech, and I'm glad to be a Hokie myself, is really because of that feeling of family. And Tech is, sometimes when I'm going back to my home in Richmond, and then I'm coming back to Tech, I say when I'm coming back to Tech that I'm going home. And I think that's kind of the feeling that's kept me here.
Yeah, so a little background on me. So I'm a graduating senior. I have about 17 days left of this degree, and then I'm going to be an alumni. So that's very, very hard for me to believe. But I'm originally from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, so I'm coming as an out-of-state student. And really for me, I was looking at engineering programs at all the kind of big name schools around the East Coast, from Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland. And I came to Virginia Tech. And what I really loved and what stood out to me about Virginia Tech is all those hands-on opportunities. So I'm not the brightest student. I don't have a 4.0. I don't get A's and hundreds on every test. But from what I heard of students who came to Virginia Tech, from what I heard from students who gave these sort of presentations, is that Virginia Tech wants you to succeed, and they have opportunities for students to really learn engineering hands-on. And so I've definitely seen that throughout my 4 years at Virginia Tech. A notable example is I've been able to do undergrad research here. I do it in acoustics, so looking at sound engineering. And so all that required was me just finding a lab, emailing the professor and saying, hey, my name's Danielle. I don't know anything about acoustics engineering, but I want to learn. I have the passion, have the hard work ethic. Can I join your team? And so I've been working in this guy's lab for 2 years now for credit, and it's just been an awesome experience. Just really seeing that professors, other students, design teams all really believe in you from the second you step on campus and want you to come succeed and learn and then go off to become great Hokies and great engineers.
Hi, I'm Daniela. I chose to come to Virginia Tech mainly, I would say, after I visited my sophomore year in high school. I visited the campus and I just absolutely fell in love with it. So other than it being a great engineering school and I knew what I wanted to get into, it was really just the campus and the community and just seeing how everyone was on the campus that made me just fall in love with it.
Hey guys, my name is Sanjana. I'm a senior now, and the reason why I chose to come to the College of Engineering at Virginia Tech was mainly two reasons. So I'm an in-state student, and I had the opportunity to come and visit Virginia Tech my junior year of high school, and I actually took part in a engineering summer camp for women in engineering, and this is when I really got to see different engineering majors and also interact with the students and professors. And one of the things that I noticed was that you really have the opportunity to apply what you're learning at Virginia Tech, and especially in engineering. It's not just about the tests that you take or whatever textbooks that you're reading or anything like that, but it's the design teams that you're a part of and the undergraduate research that you want to be a part of. So it's really accessible to be in any of those different opportunities, and that's what I saw. You really have the opportunity to apply what you're learning. And my second reason was the people, the hokey spirit that you feel when you're on campus, and also like coming back as an alumni and going to the big football games. It's so heartwarming. Like people are really there for each other, and I agree with what everyone else said as well. It's really the people and the community that Virginia Tech creates that pulls us in and makes us say that Virginia Tech is home. So those are the two reasons why I chose it.
And now we'll go to some questions. So the first question that we have, with so many students in engineering, how does Virginia Tech make you feel like you're not just one of the numbers?
I feel like it goes back to the whole sense of community thing. Even though there's so many and it's a large number, it's a big school, you really could be able to find that little community that like you feel that you belong to. So there's a lot of opportunity and chances for you to find what that family you're looking for. So it really makes me feel that I am not just a statistic or anything, that I am actually going to the school, attending it, and living the college life among other my peers. So it really is just that sense of community and connecting with other people that are alike.
How soon do you get to do project-based learning in Virginia Tech? How soon do you get to do bigger scale engineering projects that may take some time?
So you're actually able to do project-based engineering as soon as your freshman year. So like I mentioned earlier, you have those foundations of engineering classes. What I forgot to mention is that in your fall and in your spring semester, or no, sorry, especially in your spring semester, you're given a semester-long project. So I worked on a vertical wind turbine that we were able to, we had to create a 3D model. We created sketches, 3D model, and then we used a combination of 3D printing and some woodworking. We were able to come up with a whole about 3 foot tall vertical wind turbine for our group. And then also in the fall semester, you do some small scale group work. But then continuing into like your sophomore or junior, and especially in your senior year, you have like a senior design project. Danielle, want to talk about that?
Yeah, so at least for mechanical engineering, so this is where you can either work with a professor, so he has funding to have his own project, or in my case, I was actually working with an industry sponsor, so a real world company. I worked with a company called Universal Fibers down in Bristol, Virginia. So they actually approached us with one of their actual problems they were having on the manufacturing floor. They wanted to speed up their output of a machine by 2 times. So we actually analyzed their process, their entire machine. We were given $5,000 to make these changes, and then we're able to deliver an actual design for them. And then Sanjana can talk about chemical engineering senior design.
Yeah, so I'm currently doing my senior design project with a company as well. And I know a lot of the other engineering majors also have the opportunity to work with actual like industrial sponsors as well as professors. So you have different options to do that. And also, as we mentioned, like the design teams as well that you can be a part of starting from freshman year.
How does the College of Engineering help students decide what major to declare during freshman year?
That's actually very well integrated into our general engineering program at Virginia Tech. Like Henry said before in the presentation, we have those Foundations to Engineering courses. And so with that course, you're actually required to go to at least 3 information sessions on specific majors. You can go to as many as you want. So it's really trying to open your eyes to not just the engineering major you think you want to do when you come to Virginia Tech. I know many students who came in thinking they wanted to do, say, mechanical, and then they ended up saying, oh, I don't like that. I really want to do chemical. I really want to do aerospace. And so the Virginia Tech program itself is built to really open up students' eyes to all the possibilities of engineering before you make that decision going into your sophomore year.
How much free time will I have to explore other extracurricular activities as an engineering student?
Engineering is definitely like fast paced, and it depends. Like one week you might be working on like 3 different projects and have 2 exams, but another week it'll be much more calm. But overall, you do have the opportunity to be part of a lot of different extracurriculars. Like I know a lot of different engineering students who take part in intramural sports or like the design teams that we mentioned, but also are part of fraternities, sororities. So engineering definitely does not take up all of your time, and it's also what you make of it. So if you want to be part of those different organizations, go for it and just organize your time so that you are able to do it, because a lot of students are able to manage all of those things.
Yeah, and just adding on to that, like she said, time management is the biggest thing. So just taking advantage of, like I said before, those classes, you might only have 1 class a day, which is just 50 minutes long. So as long as you're, waking up at a reasonable time, doing your homework, keeping ahead of all your projects and different assignments, I've seen that I've had a lot more free time than I thought I would in engineering, honestly. Like I'm huge sports fan, so I've always made time for the home football games, always made time for different design teams, this club to give presentations. So there's a lot more time you'll have than you think.
Can you all go over what an average day would look like for you? And let's say if you were on campus.
Well, me specifically, I'm an early bird, so I like to get up early and start my day. Usually that means my scheduling around my classes are usually towards the morning throughout the day, and then I work for a certain amount of hours in the afternoon. And then usually from then on, it's just extracurricular activities, meetings, anything that I have to catch up with. But yeah, so it really depends on like your time management and being able to balance it. But like the average day for engineering students is definitely broad across the board. It's not one typical cookie cutter day. But yeah, that's pretty much how my day goes.
Yeah, I agree with Danny. So for me as well, some of my classes tend to be earlier in the day. So once I kind of have like the morning classes over with, I usually get lunch on campus because campus food is amazing. And also like I kind of go to the library sometimes to get some of my work done. But I do have some time in the evening to go to the gym and also go to all the different like club meetings that I have. So evenings are usually filled with like different meetings for like clubs or sororities, but overall my classes are pretty spread out, and it depends from semester to semester, week to week. So yeah.
As for me, I live in an off-campus apartment, so typical day I'll just take the BT transit bus. It's free for Virginia Tech students all around Blacksburg. I'll take that into campus, go to my classes. In between classes during the fall semester, I'd typically go into our mechanical engineering senior design lab. Or this spring, I was actually getting to work on like CNC mills and drill presses, getting to do hands-on dirty work of building our project. Afternoon, typically I'd head up to the Turner's dining hall, get some hibachi, and then go off, do some homework for a couple hours. Then I'm also huge into intramural sports at Virginia Tech. So at least during the winter time, I would then go play recreational inner tube water polo in one of our pools at Virginia Tech. So literally just in a bathing suit with a couple of your best friends sitting in an inner tube and playing water polo in our pools at 10:30 at night. So just kind of on campus with buddies, doing homework, hanging with engineers, doing projects, and then getting some exercise in.
What kind of opportunities does Virginia Tech's College of Engineering provide that are advantageous to other state universities?
Like Henry mentioned, I think the biggest one for us is our career fairs and our connection with a bunch of other companies around the United States internationally. So we actually have the largest student-run career fair in the nation. And adding on to what Henry had already talked about with the Engineering Expo, our career fair in the fall, it's actually a huge benefit for our students because over 3 days, 300 plus companies come to Virginia Tech's campus. And then on that last day of the career fair, they actually take over our basketball stadium, Castle Coliseum, and they have on-campus interviews. So you don't have to travel to these different facilities. They all come to you, and all you have to do is just put on your business professional clothes and walk over to the basketball stadium. I know I've gotten a couple interviews for internships, for co-ops, for full-time positions from these career fairs, and it's just so nice having it right in our own backyard.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And what we like to say is Hokies hire Hokies. We have a great alumni network. So a lot of times the people working at these companies have actually gone to Virginia Tech themselves. So they're very excited to come back on campus. And overall, like the Engineering Expo is huge. So we do have all those opportunities that may not be available in other universities.
Have you all noticed if there have been any internship co-op opportunities that have been affected by the coronavirus and recession that has accompanied it?
I've definitely seen a decline in the amount of opportunities that are being presented. But again, this is something that's happening nationwide, so it is expected to affect the colleges and the companies that do come to our college, or specifically come to our engineering college. But I still do believe that there are a lot of opportunities that companies do come specifically to Virginia Tech to hire for internships, if that may be for specifically this summer, but also like co-ops and stuff. I do still see those opportunities rolling through my email, my inbox. So not to completely discourage you from, wanting to choose Virginia Tech, but I feel like that's one reason that, if anything, you should look into Virginia Tech because we do offer a lot of different opportunities for students.
Yeah, I know that some people's summer internships have been canceled, but mine is, I still have mine. It got pushed back a little bit, but I'll still have my internship this summer.
A lot of companies are also trying to see if they can still give you that experience virtually, be part of certain projects. So it also depends on the specific companies offering those internships. But overall, I agree with what Henry and Daniela said.
Can you describe in more detail the labs? Any kind of makerspace, major specific, or industrial labs? Does the school provide lessons on how to use the machinery, and can you use these materials outside of class?
There are a huge number of labs that we have at Tech, but we have labs for a lot of different majors. So like I mentioned earlier, there are aerospace labs, there are ocean engineering labs, lots and lots of mechanical engineering labs, civil engineering, pretty much any major that has anything hands-on, there's a lab for it. So the first one that we have, which is most relevant for freshmen, is called the Firth Lab. So it's similar to the Invents Lab that I mentioned earlier. And you have, in the Firth Lab, you have 3D printers, you have laser cutters, you have power tools, you have all sorts of different tools that you need for your freshman year engineering projects. And the great thing about these labs is you have a lot of very dedicated staff who work there who are mostly just students. And they run training information sessions to be able to teach you. You get a little badge and you get a stamp on it for every training session that you do. And I was able to get every stamp kind of easily. It was a decent amount of training sessions, but I learned how to use everything in the lab, and they're very excited to be able to teach people. And they're always looking to help. If you have any questions, they want to be able to help out. And there's also the Wear Lab, which is, I think we might have briefly mentioned it earlier. It's where a lot of Virginia Tech's design teams are hosted. So everything, all the big name design teams, like we mentioned earlier, like Baja or any hybrid electric vehicle teams, Those are in the Ware Lab, and those are the teams that travel all around the country for their competitions.
Like you said, it's just really department specialized once you start getting into senior or sophomore through senior year. And thing we didn't really mention is when you're taking these classes in civil, in mechanical engineering, then all these professors often do research in along to teaching your class. So you're going to get these professors who are really passionate about their own research, and then they're going to start talking about their own lab experience, their own place that they have on campus. So if you get this good relationship, go into office hours, talk to your professor, say, hey, I really like your lab, I like what you're talking about. Could I get a chance to look around? Could I get a chance to help you out, volunteer, come on for pay, come on for class credit? Then oftentimes that's what I see a lot of students getting their opportunities from.
Yeah, we also do have industrial labs. So I know the Industrial Systems Engineering department is currently working, they just secured funding for a lab that I think is going to be starting next year. So they're going to have a whole bunch of industrial manufacturing machinery, which isn't just for students in their class, but also for students outside of a ISE class. There's also a construction engineering and management lab, which is more of a makerspace, open to anyone in any major for any reason. So there's a lot of flexibility.
Are you all able to speak on the most competitive engineering majors and the least competitive engineering majors?
I think each engineering major is unique and different, but I know mechanical always has a lot of different students in it. I know Danielle can speak more to it, but I think it's because of the diversity that it offers, the ability to kind of choose what you want to specialize in. But that also goes for any of the engineering majors. You kind of have the opportunity to take technical electives in a specific niche that you're interested in. So it depends, but mechanical is probably a pretty popular one.
Just because of the nature of the 3.0 GPA requirement, I personally haven't seen much competition per se at Virginia Tech. I mean, the main competition I've seen is just probably between all of us saying which engineering is the best.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, at least in all my classes, everyone's been more than willing to become friends, work on homeworks together, study together. And I'm sure, they're all nodding along, so I'm sure they can all speak the same for their own majors.
Yeah, it's more collaborative, if that makes sense. In each major, we can all do well together instead of, I don't know if, maybe I'm just making this up, but I feel some schools, there might be the attitude where the only way that I can do better is if you do worse or something like that. The only competition I'd say between majors is that some are not as strict about the 3.0 requirement, because there aren't, mechanical engineering, there are so many people looking to get into the program that they have to have the 3.0 requirement. But mining engineering, I don't think you have to have a 3.0 every year to get in, because they do have a little bit of extra space because it's not as popular, if that makes sense. If
you need to, how easy is it to transfer from one major to another?
I guess it really depends on what major you're transferring from. If it's a major already within the College of Engineering, it's a little bit easier than transferring from a major outside of the college engineering into. But it really just depends on your classes that you've already taken, when you're transferring, and if those classes line up with your major, because everything at that point is being looked at overall to approve your transfer.
And I really do think that the Foundations of Engineering course that all freshmen are required to take, that gives you the time to kind of choose what major you want to go into. And this is freshman years, since we're all general engineers, you're taking some of the same classes that all engineers are taking. So it's not that if you change your mind from being aerospace to industrial systems, all of your classes are changed, but you're taking the same base courses as everyone else. And it also gives you an extra buffer year to kind of decide exactly what you want to do.
Do you all have any last thoughts that you want to share with everyone before we wrap this up?
Just being a senior, I can really speak to how much I loved my Virginia Tech experience and how it just felt like the great, perfect fit for me. And so just wishing you guys all luck in finding your perfect fit for your college, and hopefully maybe we'll see some of you as Hokies.
I put a little bit too much emphasis when I was doing my search for colleges, too much emphasis on just numbers. GPAs and SAT scores and rankings and all of these different things. And I should have put a little bit more, like, it worked out for me in the end, but I think I should have thought a lot about where I could see myself going. And like, if I was still in high school, like I just wake up to go to my school in the morning, like which college would I want to be, what would I be most excited about going to, and which campus would I want to walk around the most? Because at the end of the day, like rankings and those numbers are important, but the difference between a college that's ranked like number 10 in one category, number 15 in another category, is pretty small. And being more excited to be at the number 15, like the number 10 or something, I think would be better overall for me.
Yeah, I agree. So like I'm a senior as well, and looking back at my 4 years here, I don't think I could picture myself being in any other college. I will always remember like the huge football games and like the Hokie spirit, whether it's with the big event or anything like that. And it really is the people that you're surrounded by that make your college experience great. And engineering at Virginia Tech is really great, but it's also, you should also think about like the type of people that you're around, and Virginia Tech really fosters that really welcoming environment. And it's not just the 4 years that you're here, 4 or 5 or however many, but it's also going forward as an alumni. You're really proud to be a Hokie.
We just really appreciate you joining us, and we're glad that we had this time to speak to you.
Yeah, go Hokies.